Okay. So for practice today, we're going to need a couple of things. It's fine if you don't have a block or like something that is vaguely yoga block like. You could alternatively like use like a stack of books, or like I have a little cushion that I usually sit on. You can roll that up and we'll use that in that space. I do recommend, though, definitely grabbing a strap. But if you don't have a strap, then having something like a scarf or a belt or a tie or like a pair of leggings is perfectly reasonable. And then, like I mentioned, I usually sit up on something just to kind of ease the hips and the body. It seems to need that bit of easing. Just saw somebody pop in. Hello. Um, Today's practice is going to be a heart opening practice, and I chose this for this week because I've been feeling, hi Jezebel, I've been feeling a resistance towards it. And in that interest of just being observant about where like kind of some of our comfort levels are and maybe like what the body's telling us, is that I'm just feeling like, I don't know, that's a little bit I don't want to. I want to be in the hips, and being too much in any one specific way and not having that balance across the body and across our intentions can be a little bit. I want to say the word dangerous. That's maybe, but maybe it is. I don't know. So I'm thinking just it's a good idea to maybe move into some of these uncomfortable places. And honestly, heart opening can be really uncomfortable. Right? Like it gets to like maybe a little bit scared or nervous. It becomes really intense. It starts to build up a lot of energy in this space. And it's also creating a physical vulnerability that can make us uncomfortable. It creates an emotional vulnerability to be open-hearted when I'm talking about, like the more of that emotional and interpersonal way of connecting with people. So acknowledging this as we move through the practice, and also kind of just being willing to lean into that slightly uncomfortable space, because the more that we do it and the more familiar it becomes, the less we have to be hindered by that discomfort. Because I do a lot of fitness training and stuff too. Today we did an exercise and I said, I hate these. And somebody was like, why do we do them then? I'm like, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to hate them more if I don't get stronger at them. You know what I mean? So being willing to grow in this space is going to be how we move into this practice. We're going to start with some face brushing. So you take your index finger and thumb together, and the squishy spot at the bottom of your thumb, we'll bring that to the center of the forehead and then brush outwards towards your temples a few times. And then brushing from the sides of your nose up to your temples, along your cheekbones. And your temples down to your chin, along your jawline. The sides of your nose down to your chin, along your laugh lines. And then taking your fingertips and placing them underneath and behind your ears, you're feeling for the soft spot that's back there, and then massaging upwards towards the bony spot above the soft spot, and then lifting up from that bony spot. So you get a little bit more length in the spine, more space in between your backbones. Take another breath in and keep that lift as you rest your hands down into your lap, just letting them settle someplace that's comfortable to you. And then take your shoulders and go ahead and reach them right up into your ears. Take another big breath in, and as you exhale, let them drop. And if you still feel a little bit tight and lifted around the shoulders, go ahead and do it again. Just go ahead and lift them up, and then really think of just letting those arm bones hang down. Fall down. As you move into your breath, as you start to even and lengthen that breath, cultivating the pattern that you will take through practice, that you will try to connect and to return to if you happen to lose it. Just keep thinking soft and easy around the throat and the neck, the shoulders, the chest. And we'll begin practice by releasing the sound of Om 3 times together. You are welcome to just exhale or maybe scream into the void if that's more of how you're feeling today. Starting with a nice big breath in through your nose. Big exhale through your mouth. Again like that. For 3 Oms. And start to open your eyes. We're gonna set up for the first pose that we're gonna do is gonna be a supported fish pose. And I am gonna use my block on its middle setting. So I'm gonna lay it down where it's lengthwise back here. It's gonna go underneath my ribs and it's on the middle setting. You might be far more comfortable on the lower setting. And if you, like I said, didn't have a block or that seems like a little bit much when you get there, instead of doing the block, you're gonna take maybe like a cushion or a rolled up towel. I've got my little couch cushion and I fold it in half, and that also creates some space. If you're feeling a little bit tender today, maybe a little bit more gentle with yourself, go with the cushion version, because you're still gonna get that open space on. But if you're feeling up to it, if you wanna make this a little bit spicier, if you're willing to lean into uncomfortable things like I have decided I'm going to do today, we're gonna go on the middle setting or the low setting on the block. So when I get back here, I wanna set this up so that it goes right underneath my shoulder blade. So it's in the middle of my rib cage as much as possible. And then I'm gonna lift my hips up and set them back down so that I'm hopefully a little bit longer through the spine, and take my hands and I'm gonna cradle my head. Now, if you have the space, oh, it's so far away. If you have the space and you wanna let the head hang down and maybe you put something underneath your head, you could do that, but I'm gonna take hands interwoven, little basket, and then let my head fall back into my hands. And I think I warned you, but it's kind of intense on the middle setting. If it is too intense and you're not able to soften your jaw, if you're not able to find your breath, if it just feels unnecessary, then you're gonna move down into that lower setting on your block. And then instead of trying to do, we're simply going to be as best you can. And by that I mean allow yourself to kind of settle in here, let your chest open up, let your spine coil open over whatever you happen to have underneath your ribs. And again, I'm right over the shoulder blades here. Middle of the rib cage. And if you have been here as long as I have, you might be starting to feel that point of resistance. Like, honestly, on me, it feels a little bit panicky. It's like something inside of my chest wants to like pick me up and say, no, we're not gonna be this exposed. And you know, it's okay to lean into that discomfort with being exposed and with being open. And so just having this gentle conversation with that little voice and saying, no, like we can get just a little bit softer here. Excellent. We're We're going to take 2 more exhales. See what you can soften with your breath out. And then if you didn't already have the hands behind the head, you're going to bring them back behind the head. Go ahead and lift your head up. You're going to come off of what you've been laying on. Go ahead and scooch it to the side. If you don't already have your strap handy, go ahead and grab that. We're going to use it in a moment. But for starters, just go ahead and lay yourself back down and let your back rest on the mat. Feels just a little bit maybe more buoyant, or like you've got some sparkles running back behind the rib cage, a little power to bring you through this practice. And take your arms open out by your sides. You're going to take your knees up into your chest and then roll your knees over towards the right side as much as feels comfortable to you. If you push down a little bit into the back of the right arm, it might help to open up that left shoulder, and then let yourself soften into this twist. Let your belly soften when you exhale. One more breath out. And then you're going to bring your knees over towards the other side so that you're twisting in the opposite direction. Maybe you press down a little bit in the back of the left arm so you can wiggle that right side of your chest more open. And then let the legs be heavy, let the belly be soft and squishy, let the eyebrows unknit themselves. One more breath out. And then come back to the center. Go ahead and set your feet down and then grab your strap or your scarf, whatever you got. We're gonna loop it around the bottom of the right foot, get it a little closer to the heel, and then wrap the ends of the strap around your hands. Go ahead and let this leg get far away from you. Don't worry about pulling it in. Can you feel the heel pressing out to straighten your leg? You can see I've got like as little bend to the back of the knee as possible. In fact, go for no bend to the back of the knee. So not here so that you can get it in closer, but rather straight, and move it a little bit further away than you think you could or should. Because instead of trying to draw the leg in towards you, I want you to push that leg out. You need a little bit more active opening of the hamstring rather than like a really big pulling sort of stretch. 2 more exhales, push that heel out. Then relax that leg. You're going to take the strap off of your foot, set the right foot down, and then draw that left leg up. You're going to put it more by the heel, so down towards the bottom of your foot. Wrap up your hands. Let that leg go farther away from you than you think you could or should, and then you're going to press that heel out and push the leg away. So really, I'm trying to it's almost like I'm going to push out so much of the leg that my torso is going to go with it, but I'm not quite that intense with it. One more exhale. Release the strap. Go ahead and set it to your side. I'm going to bring your knees into your chest. Rock yourself up to a seat. And then put this down here, and then I lost it. Ah, yes. Okay, good. So you're going to take your right foot forward. I'm pretty sure I've lost something. You're going to take your right foot forward. Leave it in between your hands here, and then let your hips just shift forward. Be up on fingertips. You put your hands up on blocks. And then you're going to start to come up so that you're going to stand in your right foot. So we're going to take that left leg, might hop it in a little bit. I'm gonna curl, lift the toes up, and then we're gonna come to standing on the right leg. Now try to bring your torso in nice and close to your leg. You don't have to have this left leg up high. Maybe you start to get it up higher as you get your torso down closer to your right leg, and you don't have to have a straight right leg right now, but can you relax your head and trust that it's not gonna fall off of your neck? One more exhale. And then you're gonna go ahead and take that left foot back down, walk your hands back, and you're gonna lower your left knee back down onto the ground and then let your hips come forward again. You've got a little bit more space. One more breath out. And then bring your right leg back. We're gonna bring the left foot forward. I'm gonna start to let your hips relax forward, just giving some space for this shape to start to open itself up. Coming back to that steady flow of breath. And then you're gonna take this back leg, you're gonna bring it a little closer, curl the toes, lift the knee up. You're gonna come up so that you're standing on the left leg, lifting the right leg just as much as you want to. You don't have to lift it up super high, but can you instead worry about getting your torso in closer to your thigh? You see how that lifts my leg up even more? Because if I'm up here, there's only a certain amount I can lift the leg. Move the torso down, I can get the leg a little higher. And then go ahead and drop your right foot down. You're gonna scooch it back, lower your knee down, come back into that a little low lunge and let your hips drift forward again. One more breath out. And then I'm gonna come up again to stand on both of my feet. So I'm gonna hop that right foot up and then come into this forward fold. You bend your knees a bunch, you might catch elbows, give yourself a little sway around, little shake. And then start to roll yourself up to standing. And from here, we're gonna do a little bit of work at the wall. So if you've got any wall space around you, it could even be a door frame. It doesn't have to be a ton of wide open fancy wall, but I need you to be able to get about a foot away from your wall, or about 30 centimeters or so. And then you're gonna take, let's say your left arm, so if your left side is by the wall, you're gonna take your left hand behind you, a little above your shoulder. See how I have it a little higher there? And then you're gonna take your right hand to your ribs and gently guide those ribs forward. You're gonna press your handprint into the wall. And then you're gonna soften your belly back to lift up your lower rib, your lower belly. And then try to move the weight into both of your feet, because you'll probably notice you've been standing on one foot with a little bit more pressure. Can you stand even on both feet? One more breath out. And then you're gonna relax this. Instead of having your palm down, you're gonna come to having the pinky finger edge of your hand so that the palm is facing up. And then same thing, we're gonna press a little bit into that pinky finger edge. Feel the weight in your feet now moving forward towards your toes. One more exhale. And then relax it, and you're gonna switch sides. So I'm gonna come about a foot or 30 centimeters away from the wall and take the hand up and back so that the palm is pressing into the wall. And take the inside ribs and guide them forward. The fronts of the hips pull up gently. I'm gonna try to balance the weight on my feet. Gently handprint into the wall. One more exhale. And then coming out of it, you're gonna take your hand, you're gonna turn it so that you're on the pinky finger edge of your hand. A little pressure of that pinky finger into the wall. Maybe now you're starting to move the weight forward towards the toes. There's that little shift forward, almost like you're gonna just go ahead and slide on down to the floor. One more exhale. Relax that arm, go ahead and unwind it. We're gonna come into downward facing dog. I'm gonna show at my side wall here, but you can kind of stay where you're at. You're gonna bring your hands about hip height, about shoulder width apart. We're gonna walk the feet back until they're underneath the hips. You can bend your knees as much as you need. And then let your heart just kind of fall down, which is honestly not super comfortable once you start to notice how much the arm bones jam at the back of your shoulders. So we're gonna stop letting it fall down, and instead you're gonna push from your heart out into your hands. By that you might think more of like your armpits are pushing into your hands. You see how the heart kind of lifts up a little bit? Do you feel that in your own body? You really wanna find that kind of power in the upper back and the shoulders. Maybe you even bend your elbows and roll them down towards the floor so you can feel that a little bit more. And as you're pushing from your heart or your armpits out into your hands, you're gonna keep reaching your pelvis back behind you like you've got a friend who's come and grabbed onto your hips and are trying to pull your hips back into the center of the room. Stay here for 2 more breaths. Little bend in the knees, go ahead and walk yourself back up. Come to standing, and then we're gonna start shifting to come back towards our mat. And so I'm gonna bring us through a little bit of a weird long sequence. We're gonna start off in eagle pose, and I will warn you, we're gonna do a little twisting lunge later, so if you wanted to have a block by the front of your mat, if you ever feel like you wish your arms were a little longer, that could be useful for you later. So we're gonna start off, stand on your right foot, and then take your left leg and cross it over. We're gonna squeeze the thighs together and press the hips back. So notice my hips are back behind my foot. If I look down, I can see the whole top of my right foot. You can keep the left toes down for balance or lift them up. It's up to you, but squeeze those thighs together. And then you're gonna take your right arm on top and either wrap up eagle arms or just go ahead and hold onto your shoulders. Let those elbows drop forward so that we are again seeking balance by finding the back of the heart open too, so we don't get super crunchy back there. One more exhale, drop those hips back. And then you're gonna unfold everything and come out into warrior 2. So you're gonna step that left foot back and open yourself up. I'm gonna scooch my right foot even further forward here. So I've got a nice long stance. Just feeling the change between the energy in these shapes. You were all bound up in eagle and then open up into warrior 2. Keep the bend in your front knee. Let's tilt up, peaceful warrior. And you're gonna bend into this hand and put the elbow and put the hand back behind your head. And then let your head kind of soften back. Now you're gonna lift your heart right up to your elbow. And then keep that energy as you extend your arm once again. And heart lifting up, big inhale. And then coming out into side angle. Let this arm come slightly forward and then push into that back foot, that left foot, and get a little bit more space on the side. Now we're gonna start transitioning to come down. So I'm gonna take my left hand and I'm gonna bring it down on the inside of my right foot, or I'm gonna bring the hand onto a block. And then you're gonna pivot down and lower your left knee. From here, leaving the left hand down, we're gonna take the right arm up. And then let your belly soften and let the shoulder roll back so that you're twisting around the ribs. More exhale. And turn to face forward. You're gonna come up, reaching both arms up, leaving the hips forward, push down to the front foot. You're gonna take your hands, palms together, and then bring your thumbs back down to the back of your neck. If that's really uncomfortable, you can do wider arms, but if you can keep your elbows in a little bit closer, We'll go for that. And then try to let your head rest back in your arms, and lift the heart up. Good. One more breath in. Big exhale. Release your arms. You're going to take your hands down. You're going to wiggle your right foot out a little bit wider. Turn your knee and your toe out to the side so you can get your hips a little further forward. So from the front, it'll look like this. And then you'll leave your left hand down and reach your right arm back towards your left foot. Notice my heart is pulling up here. I'm really trying to stretch open through that space. Inhaling, exhaling. And then you're going to shift to sitting down on this hip. So I'm going to scooch my right foot back and then come to sit on the left hip. You can see this whole side is just going to relax downwards towards the floor, kind of stretching out this side pants area. And then your top leg, just go ahead and slide it back over to your bottom leg, and you're going to roll over onto your belly. Taking quite an extended journey through all of these shapes. Take your arms back behind you, interlace your fingers, and then peel your chest up off of the ground. Try to push the tops of your feet down. And release the tops of your feet, lift them up. Maybe the rest of you can lift up a little bit higher. Big breath in. And exhale, lower down. You're going to bring the hands right by your low ribs, just behind your shoulders. Pick your belly and your hips up, and then push the rest of you up. And then we'll come into downward facing dog. When you get there, you want to feel that same armpit into your hands action that we had from the dog at the wall. Try to relax your neck and your head. One more exhale. And then look forward. You're going to step your right foot up. See if you can stand up on the right foot. So you're going to come forward again, that little standing splits. Maybe you're able to lift that left leg up a little bit higher, bringing your heart down towards your leg. And then set both feet down, forward fold. Let your head relax. Roll your shoulders back. We'll come up just halfway, sending the heart forward, the tailbone back. And then exhale, soften again, coming all the way up this time. Reach the arms up, feel your heart lifting up to your hands. And then exhale, hands down at your heart. Okay, so we're going to do the whole thing on the other side. Don't worry, I've got you. There's no test. Take your right leg and cross it on top. And just squeeze the thighs back, push the hips back. Toes are down for balance, or they're lifted, and then you take the opposite arm on top, crossing up for eagle arms. Rest those elbows down and back. Rest elbows down and forward, hips down and back. That's where we're going with that. And then it's either going to be really graceful or really ninja-like or really awkward, but you're going to come from this bound up tight place, open all the way into warrior two. So side that right, side back, and then coming open into this shape. And you're going to wiggle the feet if you need to, just finding as long of a space as you can. And then we're going to tilt this up, peaceful warrior. Bend into your hand, elbow, take your hand back behind your head. And try to let your head rest back into your arm, but lift the heart up. So you're not letting the whole body rest back, just the head, just the head. And then keeping the heart lifted as you extend that arm. And then reaching forward, coming into side angle. Push down strong into that back foot. Tailbone is going down towards your right foot. And then here's where we start shifting down onto the ground. You're going to take your right hand down. You're going to let your right knee come down. We'll take the left arm up, and you could have a block underneath your hand if that's going to be helpful. Roll that shoulder back, not the hand. Roll the shoulder back. Soften your belly. One more exhale. And then turn it to face forward again. We're going to lift up, taking the arms up, bringing the hands together, and taking them back behind your head, your neck. Let your head rest back into your arms, but lift your heart up. We're trying to take the rib cage, and instead of dropping it back, we're lifting it up and forward. One more breath in. Releasing your hands down. You're going to take your left foot and bring it out a little bit wider. Turn the knee and the toe out. And then take your left arm up and back. We've got this rotation in the leg and a big lift and twist in the upper body. It's that shoulder that's going back. Good. One more exhale. And my hands. And then I'm going to shift down. I'm going to wiggle this foot back and come down onto this hip. I'm going to stay lifted on this arm. Let this side kind of slink down, stretching out the skin. You have your optional dramatic placement of the arm on your knee. One more exhale. We're just going to go ahead and slide that leg back. Come down onto your belly. Reach your arms back, interlace the fingers, peel your chest open into Shalabhasana. Let's let those legs fly up and lift your inner thighs as well. Big inhale. Exhale, soften it down. Hands underneath, or hands just behind your shoulders. Let's lift the belly and the hips, and strong push into the arms, pressing back into downward facing dog. Relax your head down. Big exhale. And then looking up, you're going to step your left foot up to the front of your space. Come up to stand on your left foot. Let the right leg lift up. Try to bring your torso in nice and close towards your left thigh. One more exhale. And then set your right foot down. Just a little rest here. Maybe bounce around a little bit. And roll the shoulders back. Take an inhale, send your heart forward. Reach that tailbone back. Exhale, soften it down. And stand all the way up. Reach your arms up. Lift your heart up to your hands. And then hands come down into your heart. And do a little bit more up and down here. You're going to take your hands down, bend into your knees, step your left foot back as far as you can, and then lower your knee down. I'm going to walk this over towards my left, and then I'm going to turn the foot behind me. Now my right leg is straight. I'm going to keep walking, come towards the back of my space. Totally weird, I know. From here, I'm going to try to press the hips forward. If you're feeling really saucy, you're going to lift this leg up. I'm going to reach back and I'm going to try to catch the foot. Now, often we have to go here in order to catch the foot. You see how the knee comes forward? Once I do make contact with the foot, I want to push that foot back, push my hips and my heart forward. Big breath in. Soften your shoulder as you breathe out. And then gently release that foot. I'm going to take it back out. I'm going to walk it back over, bend into this knee, shift that back leg, and then I take my arms up. This time, take your hands back. You're going to put them into the back pockets of your high-waisted jeans. And if you've got the hands in the back pockets of your imaginary high-waisted jeans, you've probably got the wrists almost at the rib cage, right? Or at the rib cage. You're going to lift your rib cage up and out of those back pockets. You're going to feel, instead of just kind of dumping back, you're lifting up and forward.
And keep that lift as you reach your arms up again. Big inhale. Go ahead and take the hands down. This time you're going to stand up again. You could try to test your balance maybe without the hands on the right leg, and then just go ahead and set it down. But that was just for fun. Wiggle it out, and then we'll take the right leg, and you're going to slide it all the way back, lower your knee down. And then from here, I'm going to walk over towards my right side. I'm going to shift my right leg so the toes are behind me, left leg is out, and then keep going all the way to the back of the mat. Reach your left arm up in the air. And then if you want to lift that leg up and reach back and grab it, once you've got contact with it, don't let your butt drop back. You have to press the hips forward. And you can see here how my shoulders really drawing back because I'm really stretching out through the chest. And I'm kicking the foot back into the hand. Good. Big breath in. Stay there as you breathe out. And then release that leg and take the hands down and start walking back towards that left foot as I turn the toes forward. Gonna scooch and adjust that back knee and then come up. Take those hands right back into those imaginary back pockets. I'm still pressing the hips forward and then I'm gonna lift the ribs up and away from the back pockets. Think about softening your jaw and find out what kind of space that might give you. Big breath in. Big breath out. And keep that lift in your heart as you take your arms up. One more breath in. And go ahead and take the hands down. We're going to come forward into a fold. Maybe for fun, you try to come up onto your foot and maybe take the hands up and then both feet down, forward fold, relax your neck. Roll the shoulders back, come halfway up, nice long breath in. Exhale, soften down again, and then stand all the way up, lift your arms. And then hands down at your heart. Okay. We are going to go from half moon into dancer's pose, and the transition is going to be weird. It's going to be hard, and it might fall over, and that's okay, because sometimes it's good to do things that we're not comfortable with. A couple of options is if you have a hard time holding onto your foot, and I would recommend holding on with the inside of your foot so that you can feel your inner thighs lift and keep it more even because it's a little easier to stay here. If I hold the outside of the foot, this often happens. I want to hold maybe the inside of the foot to come here. So when we go there, try to go for that. If you have a hard time with that, you can have your strap handy right here so that maybe you just grab, you take a moment to grab around your ankle and then you come in like this. So that could be some modifications that you can take with dancer's pose. I'm going to start with my hand on a block in half moon, just because it's going to keep me more lifted and maybe make this a little easier. So I've got that block about a foot or so in front of my right foot. I'm going to come to standing on the right foot, and I'm going to peek back, and then I'm going to fall over. But if I peek back and don't fall over, I can see my toes. If I can't see my toes, then that's probably because my leg is way too far behind me. I want to see those toes so I can activate this outer butt. And then I lift the arm up. I'm going to try to lengthen the spine and find my breath again. And then I'm going to turn myself to face forward. I'm going to bend into that knee. I'm going to try to reach back and catch the inside of my foot and stand up. Good. I'm going to lift the inner thigh, press the heart forward, kick that foot back into my hand to stretch the shoulder. Excellent. Now I'm going to go back into half moon from here. And I still want to try to keep that foot just slightly in front of my hip so it's not going back behind. And then if you want to do extra fancy business, this time I'm going to bend into the knee. And you can catch the outside of the foot if you're able to catch the foot. It's really, so you might have to go here. If you went here, you're going to open it back up here. Oh my goodness. Open the chest and then release the feet down. You can go ahead and bring your hands maybe just down onto the block just to be nice and rested in that fold. Wiggle your hips out. And then come on up. That was a really long sequence. I'm in long sequence mode lately. So I'm going to the other side. I'm trying not to talk a lot because I don't want to keep you there longer. So when we do dancer's pose, trying to grab the inside of the foot, when we do that half moon variation, I do hold the outside of my foot because it's okay for my hips to be open there. It's a different shape. In dancer's pose, I do try to keep the hips a little bit more squared and closed. It's a little easier to balance. You'll notice it's really hard to balance, and the other one just looks a different shape, different approach. So I've got my block out. I'm ready to stand up on the left side. Ooh, reach the arm up. Oh, can I see my toes? Yep, they're there. And lift the heart up to your hand. I'm going to turn myself to face in the same direction as my left leg. I'm going to reach back and try to hold the inside of my foot. Stand up. Oh my goodness. Ooh. All right, and then it's pushing the foot back and the heart forward, lifting my rib cage. Keeping the spine nice and long. Maybe I've got a little bit more room. Lift those inner thighs. And coming back to half moon so I can let that foot go. Take the left hand down. On the right side is lifting, taking up lots of space. I either stay here or start to bend into my knee, catch my foot. And then it's pressing my hips and my heart forward. Letting that top shoulder release back. Good. And then letting it all go, coming down into a fold. Go ahead and rest, soften things, wiggle things. And then bring your hands down. We're going to step it back into downward facing dog. Heart pressing into hands, hips lifting up away from your ribs, finding length in that lower back. Then lower it down, knees down, and then bringing yourself up so that your heart is above your hips. Now, I've got my toes curled under. That's going to help me to engage my underbutt because I don't want to do these shapes with my hips dropping back here. I want my hips to keep pressing forward. When we move into this camel, we're going to think of lifting the rib cage up and away from the pelvis. So we're getting that space away from the back pockets of the high-waisted jeans. We're going to press the hips forward, and there's this circular pathway, this circular energy going on in the shape. So it's not about trying to hinge backwards. It's about lifting and opening the front side of the body. Call it a heart opening practice, not a back bending practice, even though it's both, because we want to focus on opening and lifting here. So we're going to do a half. So I'm going to take my right hand down to my right heel. Or if that's feeling a little bit tender, you're going to hold on to your right hip right here. And then you can also feel that lift of your ribs away from that, right? So I've got contact there or here. And then I'm going to press my hips forward, lift my inner thigh muscles, and then pick my heart right up to my hand. I can look up at it or I can look down. And I'm not coming back here. I'm going out there, like I'm going to float up away from my heel. One more breath in. And then draw the belly back, come back to neutral. Same thing, other side. I'm going to take your hand back to your left hip or to your left heel. I've got my hips start to go forward, my heart lifts up, my arm lifts up. Keep lifting, keep expanding, take up lots of space, that circular outward and up energy. Big breath in. Draw your belly in. Come back to the center. Take your hands and place them in your imaginary back pockets. We'll feel the hips going forward. Lift your rib cage up and away from your hips. And then we start off with this camel pose. Now this feels like a good amount of work, good strengthening and stretching and lifting your chest. Great. You might come down with your hands to your heels if you're feeling good about it, and then it's not letting yourself sit back. It's reaching out and forward. One more big breath in. And then bring your hips back to your, hands back to your hips, belly in. And then we're gonna go ahead and sit down, untuck your toes, have a little seat here. Gonna come back up, hips above your knees. I have to walk those knees back a little bit. I'm gonna leave my hips above my knees and I'm gonna come to puppy dog pose or heart melting pose. Arms going out as much as I can and letting my belly, letting my heart drop down so I can really fold the hips. Hopefully releasing some of that low back pressure because there was back bending, there was compression. And then we seek balance there. One more exhale. And then walking your hands back in, we're gonna come to either pigeon pose or laying on our backs with the ankle on the knee. So I'm gonna bring the right knee forward, scooch that foot further forward, and then slide the left leg back. Notice this hip is not down on the ground. I've got both hips lifted, facing forward. You can always bring something and scooch it underneath you for support if you like. We're gonna start off by coming down, letting that hip rotate and open. See if you can wiggle that right leg back a little bit more after you've been here. I'm sorry, the left leg back. My apologies. Just to see if you have any more room. One more exhale. Starting to come back up onto your hands. So I'm going to come up here, I'm going to be on the fingertips, and then I'm going to feel the rib cage and the heart lifting up and forward. I'm going to feel your inner thighs lift up gently. If you're feeling a little frisky, you can try reaching one arm back or both arms back. Have a little flight, which really is challenging on the breath. One more exhale. And then take your hands down. We're gonna scooch up and back, bring that right knee back next to the left knee, and then let the hips and the heart melt forward. Hold time in puppy dog to relax that lower back area again. One more breath out. Then lift yourself back up. We're going to take that left leg forward, finding pigeon. Make sure you don't stop with the foot underneath you. You need to tilt it forward a little bit. Doesn't need to be parallel to the front of your mat. Most of our hips and knees do not rotate that way, but it's a little in front of your hip. And then go ahead and come on down. Let you're resting into this. Maybe you're able to wiggle that right leg back a little bit more if there's more space. Or maybe you're just able to breathe with a little bit more ease in the space that you've created. One more exhale. And then starting to come up, and you don't have to take your hands off of the floor. Just layer in all of these extra options, because you might find yourself lifting and letting your heart rise with these nice, long, strong arms. Maybe you're just kind of testing out what it might feel like to engage and lift. Or maybe you're feeling wild enough for flight. Let that heart reach up and forward. Good. Big breath in. Exhale. Take the hands down. And slide that left leg back to meet the right. Go ahead and drop your arms out and forward. What you might even do is bring your palms together and then bring your the thumbs back to the back of your head. Maybe even wiggle the elbows a little bit further forward. One more exhale. Take the hands back from, or out from behind your head. We're gonna come up a little bit now. Take your hands, touch your elbows, so you know that's the spacing of them, and you're welcome to interlace your fingers out in front of you or press the palms down. Make sure your hands are a little bit narrower than your elbows if you can. I'm gonna do interlacing of the hands. Now your head is not gonna be with pressure on the floor. It may not even make contact with the floor. I'm gonna wiggle my knees in a little closer and then come up dolphin. And your knees don't have to straighten, but you are gonna push down strong into those elbows. Relaxing your head. It's fine if it makes contact with the floor, but you're not putting weight into your head. Big breath in. Big breath out. And then lower your knees down. You're gonna sit back to the left side. So your legs are gonna turn over towards the right. And then use your left hand at your right knee. Come into a little twist. Soften your belly. Looking back over your right shoulder. One more exhale. And then you're gonna switch sides. Just go ahead and scoot yourself over, swing the legs over. Your right hand goes to your left knee, your left hand is behind you, lifting up tall. And then softening your belly into the twist, looking back over your left shoulder. One more breath out. And then release your twist. And we're going to start to come down onto our backs. If there's something that you're going to want to have handy for Shavasana, you might want to grab it so that you've got that already for you. Go ahead and come down with your feet on the floor, your back on the floor. I'm going to wiggle the shoulders under the back and push up into bridge pose. We're going to lift those hips up, maybe an extra wiggle of the shoulders. You can hold hands underneath your back. You can use your hands the sides of your hips to press them gently upwards. We're really going to focus on pressing these feet down, lifting the inner thighs and getting those hips up as high as possible. One more breath in. Relaxing the shoulders. Coming down, softening the hips down, and just taking a little breather. Resist the urge to bring your knees into your chest. And then we're going to go back up again. Push into the feet, come on up, wiggle those shoulders underneath. Pressing your hips and your heart upwards. Every time, maybe having a little bit more space. One more breath in. Relaxing your shoulders, letting your hips settle down. Now, If you want to do bridge pose again, do bridge pose. If you have no idea what wheel pose is or you've never done it before, hang out in bridge pose. If you've got a wheel practice, you might come down having your fingertips facing towards your elbow, your shoulders, elbows up towards the sky. I'm going to get my hips up, and then I push down into my hands, and I'm going to barely graze the top of my head on the floor. Come up here. Good, just make contact and then press upwards. And if that seemed like a crazy thing to try today, don't do it. You're just gonna go into bridge pose again. When you push down into your feet, feel your hips lifting up, feel your heart opening up. One more breath in. Exhale. Those of us in wheel, turn your chin to your chest so that you can come down gently onto your shoulders and your back, and then widen your feet. Let the knees fall against each other. For the intensity of those heart openers, noticing if your heart's racing a bit, if you've got a little bit of adrenaline going, and just kind of letting it kind of soften and float out there into the ether around you. Breathing into the space that we've created by expanding in that heart region so much. To feel a little softer, a little more open, maybe decluttered. If you organized and tidied it up a little bit. Then bring your knees into your chest, give yourself a hug, rock around a little, massaging the lower back onto the floor. And then you're going to cross your right thigh over your left thigh, hold outside of your legs, so for your knees or your shins, or down to the outsides of your feet, and then let your hips drop down. You need a really big stretch those outer hip spaces. One more breath out. Release your feet, switch across the legs, and then reaching up, knees, shins, or down by the ankles or feet. And there's like this curled in space. Can you start to release that curled in space? One more exhale. And then unwind your legs. Try to come back down to the center. I'm going to layer in a bunch of things here that are going to work through some different variations of this twist. So you stop at your own bus stop. You let it be however developed you're feeling like taking it. You might just take your knees and roll them over to one side and open your arms up. There's a very gentle twist, nice and easy on the body. You might decide to stay there. You can also take your top leg, extend it out. I like to take my arm that's over there, and I kind of lift my hand up like I've got a serving platter, and then I'm just gonna rest my leg on my serving platter, or maybe pull it over across me to get a little bit more of that outer thigh space. Another option is just scooch the bottom leg back. Maybe you lift up and you hold on to that foot, and then you take your head and shoulder down. And then there's a little bit of like opening a pair of scissors to press your left shoulder or the opposite shoulder down, and then reach that leg across, soften in your belly. Tibetan weaponry. One more exhale. And then you're going to release both legs, both feet. Go back to the soft version of the twist. And then come back to center. Oof. Those are some changes. And then let your knees roll over to the other side. You can stay here, or you can reach that top leg across and hold it on that serving platter of your arm that's over there. Maybe you reach up and grab that foot. You're gonna pull the legs apart and open. Scissors. When you notice places of tightness, maybe in your chest, your throat, or your eyebrows, or anywhere, you know, your left knee or something, can you relax that? Can you give it permission to not hold on so tightly, to not be so resistant? You create space. Big exhale. Starting to release your limbs, coming back to that soft twist. Coming back into the center. Then taking your arms and opening them back up over your head, let your knees fall against each other. Creating this space, this pose, this gesture of being a little bit more vulnerable, of being open, of being exposed. It can be a little bit uncomfortable. Can you find a steadiness in your breath? If it feels okay in your legs, you might take the feet together, let the knees open up, let the inner thighs be exposed. If this doesn't feel so great, you can try just one leg at a time or closing the legs back up. Maybe you give an extra boost to this gentle heart expansion by wiggling your shoulder blades together underneath your heart, just enough that you feel a little bit more propped open behind the heart. If you've got just one leg that was opened up, you might switch to the other side now. Give yourself another full round of breath. And close the legs back in. And bring your knees up into your chest again. We're going to open up into happy baby. So we'll take knees up towards the armpits. Then holding onto your feet or back behind your legs. If there's anything else that you need at the end of your practice, if there's another move or adjustment that's going to help you to feel like you've got a really well-rounded experience and practice here, feel free to go there. We've got time for a good long shavasana, so you've got some room, but if you're not feeling like there's anything else to add in to finish you off, you'll start to drop your feet down. Maybe you rest here with the knees knocked against each other, and maybe you extend the legs out into corpse pose. Let's all try to give a little snuggle of the shoulders together underneath the heart so that it's supported, that it's open. You're welcome to take a seated meditation, whatever you need to do in order to find rest and support, and then we'll hang out for a couple of minutes here together in softness before we wrap up together. Start to come back to your breath. Feeling this increased awareness and intention brings some depth to your breath, making you feel more expansion around your lungs and your heart as you take that air in and out. Might reach your arms overhead, creating a nice good morning stretch. Feeling your body fill up and then softening and deflating as you exhale. And when you're ready, roll yourself over to one side, curling inwards in a moment of gratitude for coming onto your mat today, for getting up and doing this thing together. And when you're ready, coming up into your own version of a comfortable seat, propped up however you like. And we'll seal our practice by releasing one Om together. Big breath in. Bowing down to the love, the light, and the darkness that resides within each of our hearts. Namaste. Thanks, everybody. Have wonderful days. Have a good week.